The final interview from India was with a medical doctor named Zubin Marolias, and I think it's really going to encourage you.
Thank you, Ty, for having me over here to share my healing experiences in the journey of cancer. Much of my work over the last 30 years has been to integrate. Integrate in the line of treatment, integrate a patient in mind, body and spirit, and integrate all alternative therapies together with conventional medicine. When you see a cancer patient that comes to my clinic, they normally come with about 4 to 6 relatives. And the first time they come, I can sense the fear, the hopelessness, the resignation to the disease. And I always encourage all of the relatives to come in the clinic. All of them, husband, wife, daughter, son, relative, and they all come. And I want them to share their experiences because that is where the patient derives the support. It's not like a one-on-one, like you see in an oncology clinic, but it's always together. Together and integration. So integration is a key. And that's where the Department of Integrative Medicine was started in Memorial Sloan Kettering. And today, many of the big hospitals in the United States of America have centers for integrative medicine. I am fortunate to have had the opportunity of working in Memorial Sloan Kettering Center for Cancer Research in New York in 2009, wherein I shared my experiences in homeopathy and mistletoe with the departments together.
What was their reaction?
Oh, it was very, very supportive, very supportive. And I saw patients in Memorial Sloan Kettering on rounds wherein they use acupuncture, herbal medicine, curcumin, and then I used to give my small recommendations on homeopathy and mistletoe.
Interesting.
So integration is very important.
Now, the reason that that's interesting to me is a couple of reasons. First, you mentioned vitamin B17, and it was in Memorial Sloan Kettering Hospital back in the 60s or maybe the 50s that there was a Japanese researcher, Kanematsu Segura, that began to research vitamin B17, and that was one of the first times that B17 gained prominence in the public eye. Now, they try to downplay the significance and the effectiveness of B17, but it was at Memorial Sloan Kettering.
Ty, life is a story, and as the patient comes to me, I use my interrogating techniques and my history taking to unfold their story. I call it the healing story. Every patient has a story, and there is one disease like cancer wherein you need to understand the patient's story. Spend 1.5 hours, 2 hours with the patient trying to understand the childhood, the adolescence, the relationships with parents, your boyfriend, your partner, your wife, your husband, and then put together the story. Again, Ty, the story of integration. And that's very, very important because that's where the journey lies and that's where cancer develops.
Let's hear some encouraging words from one of Dr. Marolias' patients named Homai Mirza.
We have with us Mrs. Homai Mirza, an 83-year-old lady living in Mumbai city. Mrs. Mirza is a known case of high-grade ductal carcinoma, which was diagnosed in 2013 on the left side for the first time. Homai, can you tell us about what happened and how you were diagnosed at that time, and tell us your story?
I was in Hong Kong when I found out the first lump in 2013, and I told my daughter-in-law I was there. I told her she contacted her GP, then she took me to the best of the way in Hong Kong hospitals, and she diagnosed it is there, but she wanted to run some tests. I told her, no, I don't want to stay here. I just send me to India. I landed in Bombay in the morning, and I was taken to Dr. Pradhan. Dr. Pradhan also diagnosed the same thing, and he operated on December 2013.
Then she was given chemotherapies, and she completed her chemotherapies, and in January 2016 she had a recurrence on the other side. So she was diagnosed with breast cancer on the right breast. which also was operated in the year January 2016. Post-surgery, Homai is 83 years old. Post-surgery, they were in a dilemma as to what to do, whether she should undergo chemotherapy again. This becomes a very, very important question for most cancer patients. And it is at that time that Mrs. Mirza consulted me for integrative oncology treatment. She was put on homeopathy medicines and mistletoe therapy. Homai, can you tell us your experience with homeopathy and mistletoe therapy? And when you came to me the first time, you can tell us in your own words how you felt and how was the journey?
Actually, I didn't want to go through the second phase again of chemotherapy. I said, no, I'll try homeopathy. Then my niece, who's in Andheri, she told me Dr. Marolias also goes to Dadar, so you consult him. He's a very good doctor. So I met him, and that's history now. Since last 2 years, I'm with him.
And how are you feeling?
No problem. No problem about this. No problem.
Homai is in remission right now, and she is on regular homeopathy treatment and regular physical examinations.
I think you should try. You should try homeopathy. Everybody should try.
Thank you, Homai, for coming, and thank you for sharing your story.
Yes, thank you so much, Homai, for sharing your story. Let's hear a few more encouraging words from another one of Dr. Marolias' patients, Pushpa Gurnani, a stage 4 ovarian cancer survivor.
I'm Pushpa Gurnani. Hi everyone, from Mumbai, India. February 2016, I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and my family doctor, she referred me to Dr. Zubin Marolias, oncologist. I met him, and he started helix oil injection and homeopathic medicine. And since 2016, I'm under his treatment.
So Pushpa is on, as I mentioned, homeopathy treatment, and she receives mistletoe therapy in 2 forms. One is subcutaneous injections every alternate day, and also intravenous mistletoe infusions once a month, as Pushpa mentioned. So this is important that we give mistletoe in these 2 formats for better immune stimulation. And her quality of life since February 2016 hasn't been compromised at all. In fact, if you see, she has got a few of the enlarged lymph nodes over here, and if you look that side, she has a few lymph nodes over here also, and her abdomen is still a bit distended with ascites. So I'm just trying to show you, there is a distension of the abdomen with ascites, but what is most important is that there is no cachexia, there is no weight loss, her appetite is fine, her vitality is fine, her mood is fine, she feels happy, she goes to work every day. Both her daughters are singers, they sing in competitions, and they always invite me, but I always say yes, and then I don't have the time to go. But they sing also, and the quality of life has been maintained, which is most important in a stage 4 cancer patient. It's a very unique interaction that has developed between Pushpa and me.
Yes.
And she always comes with a pack of biscuits to my clinic, because when she comes, it is my tea time of the clinic. So we both go down and we have tea together. And thank you, Pushpa, for coming.
Thanks to you also. Dr. Zubin is a very good doctor. He is very loving and caring. He takes my cure very nicely. He is a jolly good fellow. Thanks to everyone. Thanks to God for giving Dr. Zubin in my life.
Yes, thanks be to God. And thank you, Pushpa, for sharing your story. Dr. Zubin has many more patients who love him dearly and who got pretty emotional when they were sharing their stories. The lady that you see here, Neela Nevrakar, was just one of them. This interview literally brought tears to my eyes. And now, back to Dr. Zubin's interview, where he shares his 3S concept for healing.
I'd like to share a concept which I have believed in, which I have formed in medical practice after about 28 years of medical practice. This concept, I call it the 3S concept. It holds true not only for cancer, but also for any other chronic disease, autoimmune disease, chronic diseases like arthritis. The first S The first S stands for suppression. In cancer, you will always find that there is a level of suppression in a patient's life, whether in childhood, lack of love, whether in adolescence, a failed relationship, a disappointment in love, or a bad work experience, lack of promotion at work, humiliation. The first S of suppression. And many a times in a chronic ailment, especially in cancer, you will always find suppression. The second S is lack of spontaneity. When people don't become spontaneous, they are curbed down by a typical human trait of what other people will say, what society will feel, and they lose their spontaneity in life. And the third S, to be a free spirit, is so important. To feel what you want to do and to go ahead and do it. That's very, very important. So you have suppression, you have lack of spontaneity, and you have being a free spirit. So many a times when a patient undergoes a life journey and we identify the suppression level, we identify the lack of spontaneity, and we look at the free spirit, we always tell a patient to do a simple activity. And I do it when I'm joyous, when I travel the world, and to inculcate the free spirit, it's like standing with your arms wide apart. To be a free spirit. So I have always used these three S's in interviewing patients with chronic ailments, mainly in cancer.
It's a unique perspective, and I couldn't think of a better interview for us to round out this entire Asian quest than this, because what you've really done is you've summed up the missing pieces of the puzzle that we've seen on this trip, and that is the mind-body connection, the emotional baggage that people need to get rid of, learning someone's story, right?
Until you shake hands with the patient, until you pat his shoulder, until you ruffle his hair, you are not a true physician. There is always hope. Even if there is 0.5% hope, you have to give it to the patient in mind, body, and spirit.
And you've given those that are watching more than just 0.5% hope. You've given us 100% hope.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ty, for having me over here. Real pleasure, and I must compliment you on your effort. And it's been a real pleasure knowing you also. Thank you very much.